Well, for me, it means that Lexis is playing an important role alongside the other sponsor organizations in helping to promote greater diversity in the legal profession. While strides are being made to progress such matters, it is important to keep building on any momentum generated in promoting such goals, and the continued involvement of Lexis Nexis in the competition hopefully performs this role.
Perfect. No, absolutely. You're right in terms of the continual development too. Because I think the opportunity every year for our members to develop and also kind of gain access into the profession is really important. And at the grand final, what will you as a judge be looking for in our finalists?
Above all, I'll be looking for clear and logical thinking in how they approach the questions that they asked, even if they are unfamiliar with the subject matter. I'll also be interested in how they present the ideas across to the judging panel. That's a very key part of legal practice in terms of when you are meeting clients or you're presenting ideas to clients, and also in terms of communicating across to them complicated ideas that are sort of more layman appropriate.
Perfect, absolutely. And what in terms of because there's obviously a time limit and things like that, any sort of other practical tips you might have to, put their answers into a very succinct presentation? Any kind of tips that you would have for that specifically?
I think one of the key tips I always have is that you need to really don't be afraid to take your time to come up with a response or to present your ideas. One of the key messages I want to get across is no one will fault you if you take a bit more time to deliver a considered and thoughtful response rather than a rushed and muddled one. So I think a lot of people fall into that trap, and it's a simple thing, but it's one of the things I always have to stress.
Yeah, and I agree that, because I suppose that, wanting to get the amount of content across, but it's very much in the delivery as well, which is obviously something that you as judges will be looking at. And I suppose nerves will come into it too. But how do you, given your breadth of experience, develop and continually build your own commercial awareness? Because I think we often hear tips from sort of, others at the early stages of their legal career, but interested to hear from somebody's experiences yourself.
I mean, obviously, one of the key, possibly more obvious ways is continuing to read what's in the business press, both in print and online, keeping on top of that. But one of the key ways we stay in touch with what's going on is frequent contact with people in practice. So we have at Lexis Nexis, for example, in our corporate team, we'll meet 3 times a year with what we call a consulting editorial board, which is made up of partners from different law firms, and we consult with them on the issues that are currently uppermost in their clients' minds. So we get a sense of what's going on commercially. The other thing we also do at Lexis Nexis in the corporate team is we produce a series of trend reports on various sort of like public company type matters. So on equity capital markets transactions, annual general meetings of listed companies, and public company takeovers. And those give us an idea of certain trends in, commercial activity going on. So yeah, really the best way of keeping on top of things is actual direct consultation with the industry. And if you don't have that avenue, then you can go to other more public means, either through the internet or the business press.
Absolutely. And how does that differ now to when you first started in your career? Were you kind of given your tips from others as to and you've over time built your own ways and means? So I'm interested in kind of what advice perhaps you were given at the early stages of your career.
You are given a bit of training on it, although a lot of the training is more focused on the legal side. I think it's something that more comes from and time spent when you're training under the tutelage of either a senior associate or a partner who's been there, done it all before, knows where all the bodies are buried, and then attending meetings with clients, you get a sense for what moves them, what are the key drivers in most of the deals you're involved in. So it kind of builds up through osmosis over the time. I mean, that is the best way of getting a sense for it. I mean, it's good to prepare and, do what I was saying before in terms of consulting the business press and getting a sense for the commercial priorities of the day. But the best way is actually, essentially getting stuck in and as you can.
Yeah, learning by doing, absolutely. And I think that's very much feedback we have from, our competitors, is that they're learning from each other, as from the very early rounds through the work that they're doing as part of their preparation and involved in each stage as well. So that's really positive that they're building continually from each other too. And from your extensive experience, why is commercial awareness important to a legal role?
Well, it's very important in terms of what I would say is it allows you to provide better legal advice to your clients, because if you're more in tune with their commercial needs and what drives them, you can better anticipate what form of advice they want to have, and also where your advice should be focused. It also allows you to connect better with clients. If they feel that you are essentially away with the fairies and just focusing on things like what they can't do as opposed to what they want to do, and coming up with actual solutions, because a lot of commercial awareness comes down to pragmatism versus legality, and you need to be able to marry up the two to better service your clients.
I think it is important to understand from your experience, what this work, that the students the members are doing, is going to kind of equate to in their future legal roles as they kind of progress their careers. So that's really important. Now, kind of just looking more about your time as a judge on the competition. Looking back to your involvement in the last 5 years, how do you reflect on that experience? Because we've heard from a lot of judges in the past. Sunaina, a judge from Lexis, from last year, and I believe involved again, says she herself learns a lot from being involved. But I'm interested to hear kind of what's your reflections of being involved as a judge for the years you have, please.
I mean, it's a bit of a, how should I say, a stuck record, and I hear this from other people who've either watched or been involved on the sort of judging panel of the competitions in past years. As you mentioned, I've done it on 3 prior occasions, and each time I was very struck by the very high quality of the candidates, which seems to improve with each competition. And what I really enjoyed was interacting with them. The enthusiasm and commitment is always something that encourages me that the legal profession is going to be in good hands going forward if we're able to continue giving opportunities to such a talented and diverse field to enter the profession. I think in terms of what I've learned, I think sometimes you can pick up some great presentation tips from people, where people surprise you, having not actually been in legal profession prior to the competition, and you go into it and you sort of learn things in terms of the way they might put across a point, or the way they deliver certain pieces of advice, and you take on board some of those tips, and you try and, well, I would say borrow, not steal, and use them later on.
Absolutely, in terms of learning those tips and using some in it for yourself. And I'm interested, kind of, what made you want to be a judge on the competition, in the first place?
I think I'm always interested to see, I get some of a sense from, we have like paralegals at Lexis Nexis, and obviously when I was in practice, we used to have trainees, and I'm just always interested to see how people are thinking at the sort of like the more junior level of law, and also because a lot of what we do at Lexis Nexis in terms of the notes and the standard form precedents we produce are primarily targeted at more junior lawyers, it's good to get a sense of, the areas that most interest them, the areas that we want to focus on. So from that sort of career focused element, it's useful to always have the more contact with a wider pool of either junior lawyers or student lawyers. And in terms of my involvement, it, as said before, anything that helps improve diversity in the legal profession, which this competition, I believe, does, is something I would like to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you. And we appreciate that. And appreciate your involvement as well as Lexis Nexis's. Okay, well, I think we're kind of coming to the end there, but I think we've talked around tips and advice and kind of, your involvement as an individual, as a judge, as well as Lexis Nexis as well as a key and dedicated sponsor. But what would be kind of, the grand final is looming. I'm sure nerves are building. And what would you say? Even a tip or advice piece that you can say to the participants, not just on their commercial awareness, but how to even settle nerves and present themselves at that final. What would be something that you would say to them?
Well, to break it down, pause, take a deep breath, collect your thoughts. If you feel yourself stumbling, stop again, take your time, and then continue. Those are really key tips. Preparation is important, so you won't have that much time to prepare, but get an idea sort of formulated and straight in your head and try and stick to it. Try not to veer off into different tangents, because that can get you into a lot of trouble. I think those are the key tips I would put forward.
Absolutely. No, and I agree with that. So I suppose it's just using that time efficiently, isn't it? And that planning time to then organise your argument and discussion, and then how long you're going to have to present. So very much the team piece as well. And also I think in terms of from our perspective, our finalists have gone through a number of stages to get there, and they've obviously really excelled in which to get to that place. But
Sure.
there's 25 members next week, and I think from our perspective, they're all very much winners. Certainly from the many amount of people that we had apply last year. So it's been wonderful certainly for aspiring solicitors to see the journey from those earlier rounds to the grand final now. So we're really looking forward to it. So I think we'll close there unless there's any sort of further comments you had.
No, just to finish off by saying very good luck to all the competitors next week in the grand final, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to present to us.
Thank you, Tunji. And yes, absolutely. From aspiring solicitors' perspective, we're really looking forward to seeing the participants in the grand final, and also would absolutely like to congratulate everyone that's been involved this year. We've had an absolutely brilliant year of just such incredible people, and we're just very well done. And we do see members who kind of apply again next year and get further and further along and build that development, that commercial awareness, and build those relationships with team members as well. So we're looking forward to seeing it, and thank you, Tunji, for being involved in today's discussion, as well as a judge, and of course Lexis Nexis as well. Thank you.